Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix, and you are listening to the week ahead video for April 15th, 2018. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and it should be a very interesting open on Sunday. So before hopefully you guys are watching this video before the open. But before we get into all that, let me just mention that if you haven't tried ForexAnalytix yet, please do so. It's only $1 for 10 days. All you got to do is click this little button right here. It says sign up today. And once you do that, it'll take you over to the traffic light page, and make sure throughout the course of the week you log in over here where it says go to chat room and see what our community of, we have anywhere between 80 to 100 traders that are communicating throughout the course of the trading day. And if you're on trial period, you can basically view what everybody is doing and saying, but you can't participate. But you can actually, be involved in the community and see what we're, looking at and things that we're trading and what we're thinking. So it's a great way for those of you that are independent traders, just kind of getting a handle on what other traders around our community are doing. So now, actually, one other thing I wanted to show you before we talk about the week ahead, I wanted to show you the new platform that we have coming up for ForexAnalytix. Now, this is in beta. It should be released here in the next few weeks, but we basically put all of the information that you see here through all of our charts and our analysis. We put it on one page, which makes it very easy for you guys to navigate. You can read through all the analysis as you're looking at the traffic light page and the data that's going through the markets, and then you can click on any charts and click on any type of analysis and see what the market, what we're thinking, our analysts are thinking. And plus you have streaming, news stream right here, calendars, update history, alerts, what happens, your Twitter stream, which is customizable. All the information is right here for your fingertips, and all very dynamic as well. So hope you guys enjoy the new platform. We'll be talking more about that here in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, let's talk about what's happening this week and what happened over the weekend. So over the weekend, we had an airstrike, a coordinated airstrike between the U.S., the UK, and France. And I know there was a lot of build up into the weekend, thinking that there might be an airstrike, and there was. It did happen Friday night, early Saturday morning for some of you, but that, I think, was more of an effort not to have much impact to the financial markets, which, by the way, I don't think that Sunday is going to be, when the markets open, you're going to see a big move in rates. And if you do, and if we see some gaps in the market, they'll probably correct. So I wouldn't get too carried away with any, trying to chase the market any direction on Sunday. Although I think that Syria is significant from a geopolitical standpoint, especially regarding the tensions, the increased tensions between Russia and the U.S. moving forward. I don't think it's going to be a material impact on the stock market or in futures or in currencies much, at least not at the open. So try not to chase the markets. I think that it's going to be important just to watch the price action in the days ahead versus what is happening on Sunday when the markets reopen. Now, I want to bring up a couple of things, though, that are important to me, because although the market, and at least what I've read and the people I've talked to, are not expecting a huge response Sunday, I want to talk about, this is the dollar yen, and you'll notice the failure here at the dollar yen above these highs. And we actually did a little false breakout above 107.50, and we closed back below that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the yen pairs are down a little bit on Sunday. But what's most important about these yen pairs is, if you look at like the dollar yen, let's take a look at the pound yen, for example. The pound yen stretched itself almost up to the 78% retracement, and you can see these long wicks. So it really was like a dead cat bounce, or really squeezed out a lot of shorts, which we might be ready to resume some yen strength, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If the stock market starts to feel heavy again, the yen might start to strengthen, and that's not only just the pound. Excuse me, the pound yen. You take a look at the New Zealand yen. The New Zealand yen, very similar situation. We had a squeeze above these highs. Nice little short squeeze right into the 618 retracement. You can see it right here at 79 and a quarter, basically, and the 200-day moving average, and then a big reversal candle on Friday. So that means that even if these yen pairs they rally a little bit on Sunday night, Monday morning, might be looking to sell into some strength. Here's the Aussie yen right into the 38% retracement. Again, big long reversal wick here, kind of a false breakout above these highs. I wouldn't want to be long any of these yen pairs really going into next week. Now, I know I've talked a lot about this, but I'm going to go back into the dollar yen again, and I'm going to do this with my charts. I want to look at the weekly chart and just make sure that you guys all see this is a big multi-year triangle, and we broke down, and all we're doing is recovering back into the underside basically of the broken triangle, and that this is that failure that we were showing you here. Here, let me get rid of these fibs. You can see that failure here, and we closed below the breakout point, which, in my opinion, is right into the sell zone, which means that we're probably going to see, in the coming days, a sell-off back below 106. That would be my opinion. Now, obviously, in order for this to happen, we've got to see some reaction in the stock market. So if you go look at the, let's take a look at the S&P, and I'm going to take you over there really quick just because it's the broad index. The S&P also is in a consolidation. You notice this is the this right here is not the 200-day moving average, which is right over here, but this is the 50-period moving average. You can see this big zone of resistance. We're coming up against it, and you can see all these spike highs into this resistance where we've seen failure. Now, we did have a failed breakout on Friday, and if we start making our way back towards the 200-day moving average, maybe back towards 2,600 in the S&P, which seems like a realistic expectation, then those yen pairs may come under pressure as well. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about, because we do have a big week coming up this week as far as data goes, and actually we start off on Monday with retail sales out of the U.S. Even though I don't think retail sales is going to be too impactful. It is still, obviously we should note it. Out of Australia, we have the monetary policy meeting minutes Tuesday morning, or Tuesday morning in Australia, but Monday evening in the U.S. We also have Chinese GDP that's coming out Monday night. Again, Tuesday morning in China, which might move the market a little bit. But the big data or the big event that's happening this week is going to be the Bank of Canada interest rate decision. Even though the market's not expecting the Bank of Canada to move on rates, every analyst that I've read expects a little bit more hawkish Bank of Canada, citing maybe NAFTA improvements, possibility of the U.S. and Mexico and Canada negotiating a new NAFTA deal, so that should be a fairly hawkish stance for the Bank of Canada as well. And then also, Canadian data has been relatively strong, I would say, for the most part. But the Canadian currency's already reflected that. And notice how we're at the 618 retracement in the dollar Canadian. And I have to say that I've been trying to play a bounce for the last few days into last week. And if we break back above the 200-day moving average here in the US dollar Canadian, which comes in at around 126.30, that might allow for a bounce back towards 127. I don't know if that's going to happen ahead of the Bank of Canada's decision on Wednesday, or maybe even following it. But I think it's something that we should note. The dollar Canadian has taken a 600 pip, is that 600 pips from 131 to basically 120, 5 and change. I mean, more than 500 pip drop just over the last couple of weeks. We're probably a little oversold here, so we might be due for a bounce. Like I said, whether it happens ahead of the Bank of Canada or it happens into midweek, I think it's a high possibility. So I'll be looking for that dollar Canadian to continue this bounce going into this week at least. Also on Friday we have Canadian inflation data, and that's something else that might create some volatility around this 126 to 127, 128 level going into next week as well. I think the Canadian should be on everybody's radar. Now, speaking of which, since we're talking about the Canadian dollar, we should probably go look at the Canadian yen, which the Canadian yen has had a really nice bounce in a very steep sell-off in 2018. I mean, if you look at January of 2018, we went from 91.50 yen all the way down to 80.50. I mean, that's a 1,000 pip move. We've recovered almost to a 50% retracement. So that dead cat bounce that may have just completed might come back down again, and we might see some Canadian currency weakness. That's another thing that's feeding into the idea that the dollar Canadian might bounce back to 127 or 128 before this is all over again. And since we're in such a range trading environment with the dollar, I don't think we can rule out the Canadian currency or the dollar CAD or any other markets just kind of being in a kind of a challenging sideways environment. Speaking of the dollar index, I might as well review it. The dollar index has this major trend line that comes in around 91, maybe a little bit lower based on my estimations, but you can see this 38% retracement that comes in at around 90.90. That is also a key resistance. So we've been very much range bound all of 2018. You can see we're just bouncing around here in the dollar index. A break above 90, 90 or 91 in the dollar index, I think, is going to give the dollar index potentially a really strong bounce. On the flip side to that is a break below 88 it would be extremely bearish, and we'd continue that downward trend that we've been in the dollar index. So a lot of stuff to think about this week. Again, I want to stress that because the and here's the euro dollar just so you can see it again, very tight consolidation. Because the Syrian airstrikes happen on Friday, and I don't want to downplay the importance of what's happening in Syria, but I think that it probably will be smoothed over in the markets. I just want to say be careful of reacting too strongly Sunday afternoon when all the markets, or Sunday evening when all the markets reopen, the FX markets, and rates start trading. Try not to get too excited about what you're seeing, and I think that things should calm down, volatility should calm down, but it's going to be the next 2 or 3 days as the market opens and we start to think about the impact of the geopolitical tensions and the risks that are associated with what's happening between the U.S. and Russia, and then also obviously the trade, you can call them trade wars, disputes, negotiations that you're seeing between the U.S. and China. So I think that's going to be more of what ends up driving the stock market and sentiment going into next week versus what happened over the weekend. So with that being said, guys and gals, if you like this video and you think it's going to help you going into next week, make sure you click the thumbs up button on YouTube, and also if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you do so you don't miss any of our great interviews. By the way, I should mention that on Friday we had a great interview with a trader that I've known for many years, and his name's Ron, Captain Ron, we like to call him. Go back and listen on Friday. It's a really great interview, especially for those of you that are independent traders that are trading for a living or making a go at it, and you want some good strategies from somebody who has some opinions on what's been working for him. I think it's a good video for you guys to go back and review. I listened to the interview on Friday, and it was phenomenal, and hats off to you, Ron, for doing it. All right, guys and gals, my name is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. I hope you guys have a great trading week, and thanks again for tuning in.